Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, where we chat with industry leaders and get their take on the challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way. On this week's episode of the Marketing Stir, Vincent is joined by Gui Costin to discuss his experiences as founder and CEO at Dakota, the importance of good company culture, as well as Gui's new book, The Dakota Way.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I am your host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products here at Stirista. It's a new year, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to our episode so far, going into this new Jan-Feb year. Love it. I hope everyone has their resolutions going. I didn't make a resolution. Who knows? We'll talk about it. I don't know. Maybe get better physically, like everyone says. I think I look okay, but anyway. Welcome to the podcast. Who is Stirista? If you're just turning into the podcast, we don't take any advertising, but I'm just going to talk about Stirista just for like 12 seconds, 15 seconds. We're a marketing technology company. We own our own business to business data, business to consumer data. We also have the technology to push to that data to help you get new customers through email marketing, through display, connected TV. Email me, Vincent@Stirista.com. I'm crazy. I just gave all of these listeners my email. You're using it, not always for what it's intended, but hey, you're listening. That's all I can ask for. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Also, my co-host, Mr. AJ Gupta, cannot be here today. I know we're all sad. I'm sad, but we will have some tales and stories of me going down to San Antonio and visiting with everyone soon. So stay tuned. But I've got an amazing episode for us today. I have got a founder and a CEO, ladies and gentlemen. I know you love those because we always hear from our listeners. We love all of our guests, of course, but you love the founder's story. We're finding that out from people. And we've got a great one today. He's the founder and CEO of Dakota, Gui Costin. What's going on, Gui?
How you doing, Vincent? So glad to be here.
It's great to see you again, my friend. And also author. I love that. You know, my listeners are going to go nuts. Not only a founder, not only the CEO, but an author of The Dakota Way. New book coming out. So look for that, ladies and gentlemen. But Gui, tell us about your role as founder and CEO, because that can mean so many different things when it's your own company. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the company in general.
Well, I would say my role, probably don't get asked that a lot. So the way I think of it is I'm the keeper of the culture, right? So you've got the vision, but you're really every company's how you take care of your people and how you treat your people. And that's really my number one responsibility. Obviously, customers are kind of 1B, our teammates are 1A. A lot of people go reverse that, but I always feel the people are the number one thing. Removing obstacles and making sure that I'm doing my part in treating people the way I want everyone else to treat one another. And then just to make sure we're on point and we're growing and we're focusing on what matters most. That we have a lot of core principles called Dakota-isms. And the number one Dakota-ism, that's the umbrella concept, is focus on what matters most. So my role is to make sure at every level, everyone is doing exactly that. And that's in everybody's best interest.
And I love that. One of the first things that you and I talked about, Gui, and it shines through of when you talk, people, making sure your people are taken care of, making sure people are being nice. I want to get into that in a moment, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question because our listeners will get mad at me. How'd you get started in this business? Coming up with the concept of the company? People love that. Let me hear it.
So we have two businesses. One I founded in 2006 with a partner, and we raised money for investment firms. We were hired in 2006 by an investment firm as an outside company to come in and help them raise capital for their investment funds. Today, we work with 5 funds. We have 10 people on that team. We've raised between 25 and 30 billion. So a lot of money, very successful. We've done it through a sales process called the Dakota Way, which is what the book's about. And so in order to build that business, we created a database in Salesforce.com of investors all across the country. These are institutional investors, not high net worth, not individuals, all what you consider to be institutions. And then we did something really fun that your listeners might enjoy, is that we took that database in 2019 and we commercialized it. And we basically turned it into a product that someone could go online, type in our URL, log in, looks like salesforce.com, and they can look at all of our accounts and contacts. So they can now have a fresh CRM to go set up meetings with potential investors. So we let other investment firms and their salespeople subscribe to our database.
That's amazing. So would you say that's kind of how Dakota has evolved since 2006?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because our main business, which is amazing, is a services business, sales and marketing. Whereas Dakota Marketplace, the database, is a full-fledged company with everything you can imagine, from HR, product, data, operations, community outreach. It's got all the elements of a company, and which is really exciting. But we have about 65 teammates on that team. So it's a much bigger team than the core business, but it's been really fun to build and develop.
And let's talk about the book. This is a new book coming out. What made you start wanting to be an author in general, Gui, and then talk to us about what made you want to write this book?
It was just really important that we got the message out of how we believe you should raise money. We do podcasts and shows called Rainmaker Live, where we talk about the 4 core principles of fundraising. And that's what the book's about. It's the 4 core principles. And they're very easy to follow, hard to master. But if you follow them, you're almost guaranteed to have a lot of success. But they're easy to understand and they're emotional to implement. But if you do them, we've proven time and time again, we've built 2 businesses based upon these principles. Many, many people in our industry have followed these principles and had a lot of success. So it's the 4 core principles, and it's all around setting expectations with your boss. That's 1. 2, establishing your TAM, know who to call on. It's one of the most important things of any business is, where do I go sell my product to whom? 3, once you get the meeting to sell your product, are you a master messenger? In our business, investments are complex. The goal is to simplify the story. So 3, you got to be a master messenger. And then 4, you need to use a CRM to 10x your leverage. Good salespeople set up a ton of meetings. The problem is they use Excel spreadsheets, sometimes yellow pads of paper to track all that. That's a failed strategy. If you use a CRM, you can do quick retrieval, which can result in 10xing your productivity. That's what the book's about.
I love that, because a lot of questions that I get asked, Gui, at some of these conferences from listeners, which again, I appreciate that they come up to me. They say, hey, you have a lot of different C-level executives on, you have CMOs of these huge companies, but no one's talking to me as far as how to get that investment. Where do I look for? My company's small. I'm not Nissan. I'm not some of these large companies that we had on, like Pepsi. How do I get that? So this is going to be great for them. So check that out, ladies and gentlemen, the Dakota Way coming out. I love this concept, and it makes me smile, because when you talk about it, you smile, right? So kind versus nice, core principle of yours. How does that translate into your company culture? Talk to me about the difference there.
Even if there's so many reasons why you want to have a great culture. Okay. But if you just step back, culture, in my opinion, is how you treat people. And most people spend the majority of their time of their life at work with their colleagues at work. And there's reasons they make shows like The Office and cartoons like Dilbert, because it's crazy town, right? I mean, how people treat each other at work is like full crazy town. And in some ways it can be really good, and people have very fulfilling careers and they love the people they work with. The environment's great, but that's not the large majority of the situations. Leaders give themselves permission to speak in different ways, act in certain ways. My goal was to create the single greatest experience that you could have coming to a company. And I realized as we were scaling it, you had to be kind. Nice, unfortunately, means you might not have tough, difficult conversations. So being kind, I have to have tough conversations. I have to be direct with people on certain things. Why? Because it's in their best interest. It's in the customer's best interest. If I was being nice, I wouldn't be being kind. I wouldn't be doing the right thing for them. So we combine 2 concepts: kindness as a culture with super hard charging. So we're super hard chargers, playing at the highest professional level we possibly can, always aiming for excellence every single day, but doing it with kindness. The 2 can work together. We're proving it, and I have to love everyone I work with. I have to, I want people when they come to work to treat people like I treat them, which they do. And then the key thing here is you got to keep your best people. If you want to have a thriving, growing organization, it's going to be because of your people. And it's because they love coming to work. They love how they're treated. They love the upward mobility that they have. They like the fact that a leader clears out all the BS. They can just do their job and get stuff done. And losing people is what kills a company. Losing good people is what decimates a company. And why is that? One reason, institutional knowledge. If you lose the people that know how to get the job done, it's very hard to quickly replace people. The next person can figure it out in 6, 12, 18 months, but it takes time. So you want to keep your best people, and culture is one key driver of that.
Those are some examples you've given me. Guy, give me some more examples how you're maintaining a competitive edge in a competitive field.
So the number one thing that we do is ask why. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? Why are we doing this? Customer calls, they have a problem. You want to solve that problem, but it might be with the product. Sometimes people are like, oh, okay, this customer wants this, and everyone drops everything and starts working on something without asking, why are we doing this? There's always a reason behind everything of why. I think if you ask why 7 times on a problem, that's how you solve the problem. You'll eventually get to the answer if you keep asking why. That is the primary way, right? Is number one, are we focusing on what matters most? That's number one. Number two, when we're doing any activity, do we have the answer to the why? And I just had it happen today. Team was working on a project, and I started asking a few questions like why, and then as soon I got to the second why, and it's like ice on a lake cracking open. You know what I mean? And it was like, and it's in everybody's worst interest to be going down the path we were going down. You know what I mean? And so that's the kindness. It's like, guys, this is not like we're wasting time here, and so we reverse course. But that problem could have been solved because if everybody, when they're like every business is kind of around projects. There's things you have to do on a day-to-day basis, but there's a lot of projects and things that need to get done. If you could increase the efficiency of getting things done by 10%, 20%, 50%, because you cut out the wasted time, most wasted time of trying to accomplish any project is because people don't have crystal clarity on why they're doing what they're doing. If they're really clear on the intent, they're like, man, well, I really didn't need to do those 3 things. They weren't important. No, they weren't. Why were you doing them? Well, I just assumed, right? You kind of see that. And so that's one of my biggest jobs is asking and have everybody asking why they are doing something and having a really good answer for it.
Guy, one of the things I like about you is you always give straight answers. You're direct. And this is a topic. This next question I'm going to ask you. It's something I've never asked any guest, but you and I were, having a conversation about it. So I wanted to ask you the CMO role. Why is the average lifespan of a CMO around 18 months? This is controversial because we have a lot of CMOs on this, a lot of people listening to it. I'd love your take on that.
It's a loaded question. And with all due respect to CMOs, they know it, so they know the answer to. Number one, the CEO wants to outsource the problem. Just make it go away. Just somebody just do it all, right? Well, there's about 30, 40, 50 different big time roles and activities that a quote unquote CMO plays. So let's just start there. So it's a unicorn. It's really hard to fill. Now, I've listened to some podcasts of some really, really good CMOs. They don't talk like CMOs. They use language like of a salesperson, a revenue person. They think like a salesperson because their job is, but let's just assume for the most part, people get this big title called a CMO. The hardest part about this is number one, all the different facets of that the job requires. And a lot of people don't think of marketing as actually what it is. The head of marketing needs to know as much as the head of sales of where the sales team is focusing their sales efforts and their sales process. Okay. How many marketing people would you know that thinks and acts just like the salesperson? And then conversely, right, most CMOs will redo the website, branding, okay? So you've left brain activities, right brain, and analytics, right? Marketing is analytics, tons and tons of analytics, because you need to know what's working, what's not working, tracking. So you have to have this deep analytical mindset and interest. But if you're a creative type, and because you're in marketing, if you're a creative type, that's not going to be of interest because you don't want to be told that your marketing isn't working, right? So you're not going to dig into the analytics, right? Because you're the creative type, which I agree. Artists don't like their artwork panned. And so you just have these conflicting, if you break down the activities of a marketing person, anybody on this call, and you just wrote down, what do you think the activities of the head of marketing are, right? And you start to do that. I just mentioned analytics. Then you have website design, but is it really website design? Or is it really what are we looking to get out of our website? What are the results? And so again, that's back to the why. So marketing is as much a sales and go-to-market activity, like a sales activity, than it is like generating demand. Marketing is, you're generating demand. So, understanding your TAM, right? Because the head of marketing needs to understand the TAM, because you need to know where the sales team is going to go spend their time and why. Who's the most, right? You need to understand all the the financial analytics, ROI, unit economics, right? Where you're spending your money and why, what kind of return are you getting? And then you need to be able to project out 3 to 5 years. Marketing needs to understand that. So now you need to have almost a CFO mindset. So you start to think about these skill sets that are required. It's just very, very difficult. I'm not here to, bemoan or put down a CMO. I'm just here to tell you, if you're a CEO right now and you're like, oh, I'm going to go hire a CMO, I'm going to tell you, you're going to hire them and fire them. Not because they're incompetent, because you're hiring for something that's unhirable for. You have to, as a CEO, you have to think about what you're hiring for. Like, what are you looking for that person to do? When someone says CMO, you know what they're doing? I have a problem. It's called marketing. I don't know what to do. I'm going to hire someone to solve the problem. And the problem's going to be 3 letters, or the solution's going to be 3 letters, CMO. That's the extent of the thinking. They hire a headhunter. They say they were CMO of blah, blah, blah. Okay, good, go. It just fails time and time again, not to the fault of the CMO, though. It's just a mishire. You don't understand what you're hiring for. It's no different than the simple tool analogy, right? You're not going to use a hammer to screw in a screw, right? A lot of people hire hammers, screw in the screw, right? And then wonder why they're firing them. Well, you have the wrong tool in your hand. Like, come on, guy, right?
Well, yeah. I seem to think that it's a lot of people now. It sounds like it's just a role that there's so many moving parts, right? You even see it now with, like, they're calling it like a chief growth officer, right? And that person, he or she there's some marketing, there's some sales. It's hard to find. And a lot of times, my experience at other companies that I've worked at, a CMO comes in, the first thing he or she wants to do is redesign the website. It's like, well, wait, okay, why? Is it buying you some time? Like, what is that? What's happening there? But yeah, no, I knew you'd have a good take on it. One of the things I wanted to, because your background, right? You touched on sales, and a lot of salespeople are listening to this podcast as well. You have a background in real estate. You have a background in sales, mutual fund sales. How has that diverse background set you up as a leader? Do you think everyone needs to do sales at one point in time to understand the trenches? What's your thought about that, Gui?
Well, just, the age-old adage is everyone's a salesperson, right? The CEO is a salesperson, and it doesn't matter if the CFO got promoted to CEO, you're still a salesperson representing the company all the time, and you're salesman to the employees, the teammates, you're salesperson to the customers. I don't know if everybody necessarily needs to be in a sales role, but I will tell you, if you can learn early in your career how to acquire customers, because I don't know a business that exists today that doesn't acquire customers, doesn't have a skill set in acquiring customers. I know that sounds incredibly obvious, but that's what a sales job is. You're learning how to acquire a customer, right? And so you start to think about, then what does that take to acquire a customer, given our product, given who the target customer is? Learning that skill set young and early, and learning it the right way, is invaluable. That's when I look at our sales team. That's what I tell them all the time, that you're doing the hardest job because it's emotional, because all you're getting all day long is no. You're sending 35 emails and maybe getting 1 response. But that 1 response, and then you add that up over the week, and then maybe you get 2 on one day, and you add it all up, and then you set up 8 first-time meetings, and then you do the math on that. If those 8 meetings all convert, let's say for our business, be 120 grand in revenue, and then if it's a 20 to 25% conversion rate, and then you start to add up the revenue, and you're like, wow, just that one, right? But did I go to college to send emails, right? And cold emails? When I get educate myself, spend all that money in college to send cold emails to learn how to acquire customers. That looks like no fun. I hate that. I can't stand being rejected. So not everybody, right? But it's those people that learn how to acquire customers. And by the way, I would say to our team, who talks the most to the CEO? Top salespeople. Why? Because the CEO is generally calling them, asking questions. What's working? What's not working? What are people saying? You're not calling the worst salesperson, right? And then they're telling you, this is what's working. I'm tweaking this. I did this. Yeah, this is what they're saying, right? And so if you want to have direct connectivity to the CEO, get a job in sales, become the number one salesperson. And also know, as I always say, I didn't coin this phrase, but it's a beautiful one, is the people not getting back to you, they're to meet you face to face. They're going to love you. Okay, let's just get that straight. But they're getting 150 emails a day requesting something. We're not dropping you in Fallujah with a 90-pound pack on your back facing live ammunition. This is simply cold email. But if you can master it and become a sleuth and figure out how to get that reaction back where you book the meeting, that's a skill set that's going to be in your DNA for the rest of your life.
I remember being in college and some alumni coming up and meeting me, and I was a communications major with a focus on marketing and also broadcasting, and a lot of them were meeting me. They're like, no, man, you're going to be in sales. You have your personality, you have a great personality, you're just right for it. And I was like, what are you crazy? I'm gonna, and here I am, and I love it. It's the field that I've been in for many years. And you're right. Yeah, it's a skill set. And also, our founder and CEO, my co-host AJ, when he founded the company, that's what he did. That was his out of his comfort zone, but he had to do it. And he was the one going out and looking for customers and talking to people. And now, 13 years later, what the company is now, it's incredible. You're absolutely right. Guy, I want to talk to you about a few things that before we get, I want to get to know you personally, but what's a LinkedIn message that gets your attention? And what's one that you just hate?
Well, there's a couple guys that I follow that I think just add a lot of value. So I really don't like I just think self-promoting on LinkedIn, please just stop. No one cares. It's not Facebook. It's you're making yourself look horrible, right? People can see through self-promotion or, hey, it's our 20th anniversary of our company. Well,
yeah, is it a one-person company? What is it? Yeah, yeah.
But it's who cares? Where's the value? Where's the value to the reader in that? There's no value. That's just all about me. It's about me, right? Winning on LinkedIn clearly is delivering value. And there's a few guys that I follow that are unbelievable at delivering value, whether it's building your 5 ideas for building your personal brand, concrete, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The more concrete you are, the more value that you give, the better. That's what wins on LinkedIn. At least that's what wins for me. And I read, and I screen share, I take a picture, send it to the team. I send it to my kids. I mean, I love getting value from people on LinkedIn.
And the message that you just don't like, self-promotion, promoting themselves, is that what you would say?
Yeah, when it's all about that, it's just simply all about them. I'm not quite sure anybody who's listening to this would say, oh yeah, I love reading about people when they describe, hey, look how, good looking I am. Look at my new house. Look at, it's just like weird, like, come on.
Yeah. Hey, look at my new house. I'm reaching out to you to now add an addition to it. Please buy something from me.
Yeah, like,
no,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like, how about you get my name right first? Right. And yeah, no, I love it. Guy, I want to talk to you about, a lot of great work you're doing, charity wise, with the importance of focusing on micro charities in the area. Talk to us about that.
It's one of the most important initiatives of the company. It's not something that I knew would be the most important initiative. And I have a sister-in-law who was in the not-for-profit sector, has been for her entire career. 13 years prior to Dakota, she was at Ronald McDonald House. And I called her during Christmas of 2020 and I said, hey, would you want to join in Jan of 21 and build out our community outreach? And we're going to give a certain amount of money away each month, but I don't want to give to big charities. They're already handled. I want to give micro charities where we can have an impact that are local to Philadelphia. And so they can come in our office. We can travel to there. We can support them. It's been the most galvanizing aspect of our company, bar none. it's the number one it's their number one favorite thing is to go to a charity, to stuff backpacks, to contribute, to give back, to teach, to coach. In fact, we're going to bring on a director of health and fitness. And one of the initiatives of his role, in addition to sort of being there to train, set up meal plans, diet questions, stretching, whatever, is going to be adding value to the local charities. We do it through career days right now, where we bring in 5 Dakota employees, and the charity comes in and they're able to ask questions. The kids can ask questions about different careers. We're going to do the same thing on health and fitness, eating, all of that. And so we're so committed, to that, to giving back in that way and leveraging our expertise to the benefit of these, underprivileged kids right in the city that might not have access to this type of mentorship or this counseling, and to be able to provide that. So it's been so much fun. The team absolutely loves it. It's called Dakota Gives, and it's really neat.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I remember how important that was to you, especially keeping it in the Philadelphia area. So love hearing that. Final question, Guy. Tell me what you like to do for fun. I remember you have kids there. You're in Philadelphia, so right now you're really enjoying some of the Philadelphia sports as we record this. Let's see if that continues by the time it's released. Let's hope for your sake. But what do you like to do for fun there?
So I love to exercise, strength train, love to walk, love to play golf. Anything related to exercise and being outside. I love to be on the water. Anytime I can get on the water on a boat is amazing. And, I guess workaholic would be probably the wrong word. It's just I have such a passion for work and serving our customers. I think service is the greatest thing you can do in life, is serve other people, help other people get what they want out of life. And that's my commitment to our teammates, to our customers, and anyone else involved in our ecosystem, is just to help other people and serve. And so that's just very gratifying. And that's kind of what it is. And then, of course, in the winter, like skiing and basically anything outdoors. I truly love walking, and it's trying now to get down to Florida a little bit in the winter time so we can walk. It's a little harder to walk when it's 20 degrees out, but
ridiculous up here right now. Yeah, New York, PA. Oh man, it's ridiculously cold.
So, but just being outside, and obviously being with my friends and family. Love being with my 3 kids. They're all, sort of grown up. One's still left in college, but don't see them as much. Christmas is awesome, getting to hang with them. So
that's awesome. And all the while, running a company, taking care of your employees. So awesome. Guy, this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Your passion shines through. I could see it, and I know the listeners could even hear it. So that's amazing. Check out the Dakota Way. Gui Costin, the founder and CEO of Dakota. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. AJ is somewhere. This has been The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com.